Quick mic check. Good evening and welcome to the Lower Link Twitch stream. My name is Michael Dowden. I'm happy to have you here tonight. I'm going to be recapping what we started last week, which is to get into planning for the Pendragon RPG. We've got an actual play session happening at the end of the month. I hope you can all join us for that. And we're doing some planning in preparation for that big event. Turns out this planning is going to have multiple purposes because we're also going to run this campaign at, ideally, HoosierCon, Origins, and Gen Con. We're already in at HoosierCon and it is completely sold out, so that's super exciting. Really looking forward to running this campaign there and hoping to get in at Origins and Gen Con, so that'll be really exciting. With that, let's go ahead and jump in just a little bit. Let me switch over here. I'm gonna switch to my desktop view for you. Okay, so we're going to be picking up where we left off last time. So let me just do a really quick recap of what we had set up. So we're going to be doing a live stream. If you remember what we talked about last time, I'm actually planning to set up each event that I run as a separate session so that I can mark things off individually. But the live stream that's coming up right now, we've got the arrival at Londinium and Londinium. I can go ahead and add some additional things to this based upon what we set up. So let's do that really quickly as a starting point. So I've got Londinium as a location, but I've got some starred events. We had put an asterisk next to events that, and these are just going to show up in there. Okay, the asterisk next to the major plotline events, and the major plotline events are the things that I'm going to add here. So I go back to view mode, and now we see I've got all of these in here so that I can link to them straight away. What I might go ahead and do is actually number these. So I've got the PDF open, so let me just walk through here. Book 3 Adventures. So we talked last time a little bit about what Pendragon is. It's set in Arthurian legend. So it is a low fantasy. There may be fantasy or maybe not, depending on the way you choose to run the game. At the very least, legends abound within this era, and there's certainly some small amounts of magic, and it is actually incorporated into this specific campaign as well. We talked a little bit about Londinium. Obviously, it's the old Roman name for London, and so this is about 510 AD, and a picture of what London would look like. We've already incorporated all this, including this rolling table, this random rolls table. And so let's look at the highlights. We had arrival at Londinium as the first major plot point. So let's go ahead and click through to that, go into edit mode, and we're going to number these. And instead of putting the star at the end, I think what I'm going to do is one. I'm going to number them. Arrival at Londinium. Save that. And now let's go back to our events. We'll just go each one. The next major one is the Tournament of the Sword. So, just by me numbering them, it makes it a lot easier for me to keep track of what's where, since I wanted these side quests and side adventures and different things, like, and I even have like our random table as events, wander through Londinium. This is an event in the system, but I want to separate that from being a main plotline event. Another thing that I could do is tag plotline and put tags on those, and I might end up doing that. We'll see. It's just an idea. And again, here's the thing. When you're planning a campaign, regardless of the tool you're using, it's kind of up to you to decide what it is that's going to be important, what it is you think your players are going to do or encounter, what you want to have ready, versus what you feel like you want to kind of do ad hoc as you're running the game, kind of by the seat of your pants. And I like to make sure that everything is interconnected, make sure that everything is linked up, make sure that it is. I don't have to think about looking things up any more than possible, but I like for the storyline or the way the event that the day goes to be player driven. So I plan in advance the details that I might have to look up, and then I want on the day of for the players to drive kind of how things lay out as much as possible, and that can be tricky. Twenty, you've got me distracted with tacos now, man. It's okay. I'm making pork for dinner, and I always have leftovers, and the leftovers go into tacos because that's just how we roll around here. Okay. So, all that said, to basically mean that you can choose how to organize things in a way that works for you. Okay. If a tag on all these plotline events works, great. I'm going to do it to show it. I don't know that I'm going to ever end up using it. Right? Let's call it main plot. And we're going to save this. We're just going to tag these events now. And I'm doing control clicks to open these in multiple tabs because that is how web browsers work. And one of the great things about LoreLink being in the browser is that you can leverage the browser's windowing capabilities, right? So that's useful to me. All right, great commotion. Perfect. So those are now all tagged as plots, and it doesn't show here, but from the tags I can go to main plot, and now I have the main plot events all connected in here. Okay, and they can be in order and everything else. Now let's go ahead and move on to the very next thing, Picts in the Dark. I'm going to zoom in on this because I'm sitting a little far from my screen. As early loyalists pledging to Arthur, the player knights are among those chosen to guard Clarent, the Sword of Peace. She's given a place of honor for all to see on the altar of St. Paul's Cathedral. So, you'll recall from last time, we have St. Paul's Cathedral, and here is Clarent, the Sword of Peace, and the Archbishop Dupricus. Dupricus. I don't know. 24 nights, standing 3 8-hour shifts, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this is going to be the next major thing. So I've got Clarent in here, and so if I come in here, you'll see that we have info, the description, etc. I have all these details in here. Let's go ahead and create the next plotline event. And so much text. Several. So there's details about the cathedral in here. So we're going to probably copy these details into the cathedral. So I'm going to save this. Come in here. We're going to add a location. If that's important, we're going to open up St. Paul's Cathedral. because that's just part of the description of the cathedral. And if I'm looking for that information, I'm probably not going to go tracking down an event for it. I'm going to want to see it on the location. And see, that is the type of thing that when we're doing planning, we kind of have to make a judgment call on. Every pre-printed adventure I've ever seen flattens the information. And depending on the system and the nature of the campaign, they might flatten it in different ways. When I'm doing planning for Pathfinder and D&D, for example, a lot of times the adventures flatten by location. So basically you're getting location, 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 location in order inside of the adventure. But there's additional information interspersed within the pages and sometimes even within the locations. You might have villain details or monster or creature details. You might have item details. You might have specific events and things that happen that are interspersed, and you've got to extract those in a way that makes sense for you. In Pendragon, everything is basically presented as sequential activities. But if you've GM'd before or played in any RPG before, you know as well as I do that nothing ever happens linearly. As soon as the players get a hold of it, things change, plans change. And so having it in sequence is great, but you're going to end up bouncing around somehow. And you as the GM don't necessarily remember as you're bouncing around where the relevant bits are. Where are the details about the characters, the villains, the NPCs, the locations? And so the way that I leverage LoreLink is to extract those information to an object, to a game object related to that thing, compile all the information that I run across into that thing, and now I can look it up. So, for example, now St. Paul's Cathedral, when I look it up, I know how to get in. I can similarly, we have characters. I can pull up all the details that we've run across for Merlin so far. And I know, because of the way I've done this, there might be based upon, there's going to be roles, trusting and suspicious roles that determine how you perceive him, because I've put that right here in the description of Merlin so that I don't end up screwing something up when I look him up. All right, going to continue filling this out. Ask for energetic lazy rolls. Famously energetic or lazy characters must roll their respective famous trait first. So if you're famous for something, then you must roll that trait first. Everyone else chooses whether you intend to be energetic or lazy. If the first trait roll succeeds, the second trait roll is not made. We talked a little bit about how trait rolls work last time, but they're on a spectrum. The more energetic you are, the less lazy you are, and vice versa. I will say one thing, that the quality of the PDF from the standpoint of copying text has been fantastic. I run into lots of problems when I'm doing the Paizo PDFs where 2 columns of text, it'll select both columns, but these columns are nice, clean columns. Copying the text is super clean. Really appreciate the quality of these PDFs. Very happy with it. So Race for the Sword is going to be a sub-event. So we're going to save this here. I'm going to create a second event, Race for the Sword. It's going to copy this text. So a lot of planning is like boring, and I apologize. I have a hard time sometimes doing the thing and talking about the thing simultaneously when I'm doing different things. So apologies if it gets a little boring, but basically I'm copying out of the PDF into the right locations. I'm also reading as I go, so I want to understand how things are going to happen. So what's going on here is we do the energetic lazy check, then we do an awareness check, then maybe they spot something, maybe they don't. They may raise the alarm and charge towards where the sound came from. If anyone critically succeeded, they run into a band of Picts. 2 per player knight who rushed forward. Okay. As the clash of steel rings out inside the house of God, the rest of the band of thieves melts into the night, otherwise the following events occur. For knights on the alert, searching the shadows for the intruder, each must make an opposed roll of awareness versus the Pict's avoidance of 15. Let's go ahead and actually do that. I think I may have missed something. Yep, I did. A loss of any type indicates they notice something. Success indicates they see dark figures moving through the church shadows, hiding behind pillars and doorways of chapels. Suddenly, half-naked men covered in strange blue sigils spring from the shadows and attack the knights. Picts. There are 2 Picts per player knight. Remember to apply the rules for fighting multiple opponents. Save that. I'm going to do one other little thing. We're going to add multiple opponents because that's a rule that I might need to look up. Okay. Now I'm also going to associate an additional event. Race for the sword is associated here. Now let's go finish filling that out. So, after 2 combat rounds, the Picts who engage the door guards leave their groaning victims and rush toward the altar. This means an additional Pict enters the fray for each Game Master Knight. They circle like wolves, attacking any unengaged player knight at 2-to-1 odds if possible. As soon as there is at least 1 unengaged Pict, either due to player knights going down or superior numbers, he leaps over the low barrier that separates the altar from the choir area. A player knight may attempt to cut down the thief. If the player knight is still engaged, remind them that the other opponents will take unopposed attack actions against them. That's always fun. At least 1 player knight must pursue the thief. If no one is disengaged, one of them needs to do so using the evade action. So we're going to look up evade. So we're going to add a game rule of evade. We're going to go look it up because that's what it tells us to do. And I could do it in the PDF, but I have the books here and it's going to make my life easier. So voila, I have the book. Page 38. That's convenient. Evade. Write the description. This action allows disengagement from melee combat. It functions similarly to dodge in that it negates damage and deals none of its own, but also carries character away from combat as well. Distance, any melee distance, and we have contest. Movement rate versus opponent's action. If character is mounted, use the horse's movement rate. That makes sense. mounted and unmounted. That's how this is written in here. If you win, the character neither takes nor deals damage of any kind and is no longer engaged. Fumble. Can't type, apparently. So on a fumble, the character falls and starts on the ground next round. If mounted, the character falls from their horse and takes 1d6 damage. So why am I writing these rules into here? The answer is that I've never GM'd Pendragon before. I haven't played it in a long time. And I don't know the rules super well. Also, I'm going to be playing with people who've never played the game and in GMing for people who've never played the game. And that's probably going to be true even at the events that I run. So I'm going to want to be able to look things up easily and walk people through the rules. And so it's one thing to kind of remember the rules. It's another to quickly and easily teach somebody the rule. And it's easier to do if it's already in here. So I'm going to be adding the rules that are pertinent to specific sections in this way to make it really easy for me to look up. So we're going to tag this with evade because evade is an action that I can do. And I think now that I've seen this, right, game rules are, but these don't actually show me that. So what we're going to do is edit this. We're going to say rule evade. We're going to say multiple opponents. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. That's fun. I can't rename the tags. Huh. Okay. We're going to file a bug. And this is one of the reasons that we do these streams and build campaigns and LoreLink and everything else. We're constantly using LoreLink. Mark uses it, I use it, a number of our other team members use it. We have friends and family using it. And I mean, there's a lot of, we built it because we wanted to use a tool like this, right? And we figured other people did as well. Turns out we were right. Other people want to use it. But it also means that we often are the first people to find things that don't work quite the way we would like because we're constantly using or really running games. We're running real games that we really, we're using it for real. And so we find things. So we're going to file a quick bug report, which is bug unable to edit name on a tag once that tag has been saved and applied to game objects. Cool. And now we'll move on with our life. I will not worry about the naming. I'll just keep doing things the way we're doing it for right now. All right, so Race for the Sword, I've added the tag for the evade rule. I need to continue filling out the Race for the Sword event. So let's finish the information in here. If at least one player knight must pursue, if no one is disengaged, one of them needs to do so using the evade action. If the players do not get this idea, then they can each attempt an unopposed honor roll, with the winner realizing that they must pursue lest they lose the sword and 3 points of honor. That would be bad. Uh-oh, I spoke too soon. Now I said they did a really good job with the columns. Apparently, PDFs just suck. All right. Ah, so the game master intervenes with a dying knight. How good for me. Yeah, this line at a time thing is for the birds. I don't like it. Makes me unhappy. So do you go after the picked or do you grab the sword? All right, so there's picked warriors. So we're going to save this for a moment. We're going to come up here. We're going to add creatures. Picked warriors. Oh, come on. Good times. Armor. Traits. Passions. Skills. Note. Picks our masters at running away and hiding. Oh, come on. And so have a special avoidance skill. Go, I'm going to save this and edit it. Yeah, can't live without them. Can't pour mana for crap. That's correct. No, we don't need a mature rating today. It was just a brief description. It'll be fine. I promise. And there's no photos. All right. So in here, we're gonna let's do it. I'm gonna insert a table. Size, text, stir. In fact, let's go ahead and do a thing really quickly. Let's create a character template. There we go. Okay. have attacks. Clean that table up a little bit. We'll, there we go. Looks pretty good. The attacks similarly. So what we're going to do is weapon skill value damage. I'm just going to do spear here. And it'll be a default attack, and then we're going to have health and other. And then we're going to have these items here. This is a template, so I want to make this easy to edit. Okay. Just do none by default. We do health here. That is going to be statistic and value. And then we're going to do that under here. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to do movement 20. Points 4. And I'm going to go ahead and stub it up based upon this particular stat block, even though I know that probably other characters won't have the same thing. Move this slightly off to the side so I can see it. There we go. Points. Knockdown. Wound. And unconscious at 7. Now, we're going to save this. Why can I not save this? Oh, right. This is an army card, I believe, but what do they call them on here? Again, looking at my oops, throwing papers on the floor is what I'm doing, apparently. Fix the name if I end up not liking that. There we go. So now, let's actually cancel this. Come back into creatures. We're going to create a new creature. Oh, I actually have it already in here. Go to, I think Yeah, there we go. Can't base it on a template once it's created, I believe. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. I haven't done much with it. It's fine. Create a... Oh, I put it under characters instead of creatures. Haha. That was dumb. Creature template. Just copy and paste everything. It's not hard. That's why I couldn't do it. That's fine. Each section of game objects has its own templates for now. So, which makes sense, but Picked Warriors. I'm going to save this. Now we're going to come in here and okay. I haven't actually used this feature yet, so I'm learning as I go here. Nope, creatures, not characters. Why did it not save my card template? Doesn't do the description. Interesting. So it's going to pull in custom fields, etc., right? But it means that I need to set each of these things in here. So we'll decide if I'm going to actually do it this way or not in just a second. So we've got this. Now let's go to creatures and let's go to the Picked Warriors. And I don't get the custom fields because it... Interesting. Let's try this one more time. This thing. Now, still not getting the custom fields. Okay. Well, that was a nice theory. Okay, I just went offline. And I'm back on. Give it a second. Give it a second. All right, looks like we're back. It recovered. Little internet hiccup there for a second. Having a little bit of an issue on the YouTube side of the stream, so bear with me for one moment. Okay, I think we're good, but we'll find out in a minute. Okay. Okay, we should be good. Sorry about that. All right, so I clearly don't know how this works, so I'm going to stop trying to do it. I'm going to copy and paste this and just create the creature and move on with my life. And we're going to fill this out. 11, 11, 8, 13, and 13. And we've got a spear or a battle axe. $46. Those should be good because we did all those. So we've got a Tar's shield. Reckless 14, Valorous 8. No passions. We have avoidance 15. They're sneaky. Save that. That's what they're going to look like. So we're going to associate that now. Actually, hold on. Come to the event. Picts in the dark. Going to associate a game object. Picked warriors. Okay. Now, when we're in view mode, which is what's going to happen when we're actually running this, I'm going to be able to click on here and see this stat blocks. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Rules from multiple opponents. Yep, race for the sword. Actually, I need this on race for the sword. We're going to add them here. Okay. Potentially need it on both of these. So let's go to these events really quickly. So once again, we're getting Picks of the Dark. That's the high level one. And it should be associated with Race for the Sword. Cool, and it is. Excellent. So Race for the Sword happens up to this point. So let's go make sure that that's good. Alloys of Londinium. Now, consequences. That would be a different event. Let me just double check one thing here. After 2 combat rounds, this is going to happen no matter what. So this is one of the things. These activities, these things are going to happen. You can choose when they happen by the players doing their thing, but these things are going to happen, right? This is the story that the GM is telling, and that's a little bit more directed than some other systems, for example. But consequences may or may not happen based upon what the players do, but we're going to account for it. So we're going to create a new event called consequences. Chart description. All right. Man, this is brutal. It's not good. It wasn't every other. Player knights lose. Here, I'm going to move this over to the side again so that I can see side by side. Then some other knights around some other knights do, so the player knights lose 3 points of honor and are cast into shame for their failure. A barber surgeon with first aid visits any wounded player knights, and no one considers them anymore in favor of whoever did regain the sword. And that's where we got off. Okay. presuming. Every other gets deleted. There we go. They did the job themselves. And mark this. So fail or succeed. Yeah, either way, we're going to want those. So. That's fun. Gotta love editing PDFs. Make a list of player knights included. And add 1 point for each picked warrior. On St. Paul's. Okay, so player knights may create a shared passion of loyalty, companions, to reflect their shared bonding experience. The starting value is 1d6 plus 6. Make a list of the player knights included and add 1 point for each picked warrior killed, and subtract 5 points if they failed to stop the theft of Clarent from St. Paul's. Make a note of that. All right, next morning. All of the city is abuzz. Failure, planned these while several any in there we go. Player knights may make an intrigue roll to reflect intrigue. That gets bolded to reflect what they hear among the gossip. On a fumble, the knight hears that the normally friendly picks did this. On a failure, gossip is that the king of the Picts planned this. With the success, the consensus that these picks are from the mountains of Caledonia, while critical success reveals that King Lot has several of these Pictish tribes under his command. Dun 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 dun. Okay, so we have consequences. We need to attach that to Picts in the Dark, so we're going to do that. Consequences. Okay, coming back to the events then, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have any side events that we've broken out also in here. Then we're into the next section, which is going to be the king defends his crown. And so this is basically how the planning is going to continue going. King defends his crown is going to be the next thing up. Interesting side notes in here, like to the people of Arthur's Britain, Candlemas remains an important religious holiday as it marks the end of the Christmas season. As the name implies, candles feature in great numbers during the celebrations, with city guilds putting on candlelit parades during the darkened streets. So useful tidbits in the margins here. Do make sure to review those. Remember to grant checks for any awareness rolls that come up as a critical success or fumble. Check marks, in other words, specifically on the character sheet. So we're going to continue going through and basically planning it like this. Let's roll down to the bottom really quickly. So there's a conclusion of this section, and then onto the winter phase, which is what I'm going to skip to for right now. But I want to read this little sidebar here. Feudal army organization. The Conhua is the basic knightly unit in a feudal army. Knights normally follow a banneret. All player knights belong to or lead a Conhua, and the Conhua leader makes tactical decisions for the whole group. Following their baron form an abatai battalion. Number of battalions in an army varies tremendously depending on the size of the battle and the power of the barons. A baron typically has 3 Conhuas under his command, a single battalion. The baron usually leads one of the Conhuas personally and is at the forefront of the fighting. A powerful count divides his army into several battalions, leading the best knights himself. So this is kind of showing how the armies are organized. Useful information. I don't know that I need it in the campaign information at this moment. All right, on to the winter phase. And then we have the next adventure. When I am running this, I am definitely planning to get to the end of this first adventure, and I think that I'm going to go ahead and have the second adventure in place. If we scroll through here, we see there's a few things that happen. Conclusion. And then there's a third as well. So there's 3 basic adventures in here. I'm going to try to get them all planned. I'm going to get through as many of them as I can. We'll kind of see how it goes. Hey, Theoden, welcome to the stream. We're working on doing some planning for Pendragon here. So what I'm going to do is actually go up to the first winter phase. Let's see how many things that I've just skipped so that I can mark them. So we're for this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so that I get my numbering right. At this point, the scenario is finished. That's correct. We're going to talk about the winter phase just a little bit. At this point, the scenario is finished. The player knights can take stock of their fortunes, good and ill, over the course of the last few weeks' events and assume that life for them will now return to some semblance of normalcy. As they return to their home counties and resume their regular duties. Remember that in Pendragon, you normally run one scenario per year, therefore the year from a gameplay perspective is now over, There is still time this session. Take the player knights through the winter phase procedure, explaining its function in the game and guiding them through each step. There is no time left for the winter phase. It is perfectly acceptable to run it at the start of the next session or even between sessions via messaging. So, yeah. Let's pull out the book. Winter phase. Because I think this is a really important thing. It's mostly 64. Page 64, right at the end. Military campaigns in the winter are rare. Britain is not subject to deep snowfalls or extensive icing over, but the weather is cold and wet nonetheless. In particular, any road, trail, or path not of Roman make becomes a quagmire of mud. No one goes out if it is not strictly necessary. Winter is also a time of training and study, amorous pursuits, and gossip. In game terms, the players update their characters to reflect the experiences of the past year. They do this after the end of each adventure during the winter phase. Procedure is as follows. I am not going to copy this whole thing into Link. I don't think. I mean, it's just game rules. So what I'm going to do is make a note. See page 64 of book 2. Labeled Realm. All right, because that's going to tell me where to go, and we'll just go through it together real quick. The procedure is 1, make experience rolls, 2, do training and practice, 3, tally your glory, and 4, your prestige reward. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but your experience rolls, you're going to roll 1d20, a 120-sided die, once for each experience check mark that you have. If the number you roll is greater than the current value, and you learn from the experience, and you add 1 point to that value. Once you make the roll, erase the check mark until the next adventure. That is how you're going to increase things. So let me see if I can find a character sheet to share with you really quickly, because that'll make this make more sense. Pull up Sir Asterius, that works. All right, Sir Asterius, this is going to be one of our characters, and you'll see there's a check mark next to each of the skills. So remember, you critically succeed, critically fail, or if I think it's noteworthy, you get a check. If you get a check, you're going to make a roll. So obviously, if you get a check in fashion, for whatever reason, you're going to increase that to a 1. Why? Because you can't roll less than 1, and 1 is greater than 0. Definitely going to go up. If you get a check on intrigue, you must roll a 14 to 20 on the die in order to increase it. So it's less than a 50% chance that you're going to succeed at increasing it, right? Similarly, hunting, a little bit more than a 50% chance. That's how this is going to work. Similar for your combat skills. So the better the skills are, the harder it is to increase them. And they increase kind of slowly, right? Because there's a percentage chance based upon your current skill that you'll increase it during the winter, if and only if you did something with it during the year, right? So you could get lucky and increase like all of your skills by 1, or you could get really unlucky and increase nothing. That's totally happened. That's just the way the game rolls. But 1 point increase is not overwhelmingly powerful. It's not an order of magnitude increase, right? So the next thing that happens is you're going to do training and practice. You may select any one of the following improvements. You can add 1 point to a trait. That would be from this list, decreasing the opposite side by the same amount, right? Minimum value of 1, maximum value of 19. You may add or subtract 1 point from any passion. Okay, those there. Again, you get to pick one of these every year. You may change a characteristic. You may add 1 point to strength, dex, con, or appearance. You may not change your size. You may train skills up to 15. Add 6 points to any number of skills under 15 in any combination. All points may be added to one skill divided between 2 or more skills as long as the values are not raised over 15. So that's an option if you just failed at all of your skill rolls. Like, fine, I want to bump some stuff up. You can totally do that. Up to 15. Increase one skill over 15 by 1 point to a maximum value of 20. No skill can receive a critical bonus or increase it by training and practice. So that's your options. So you're going to increase a personality trait, you're going to change the personality trait on one of the sliders, or you're going to increase a passion by 1, increase a characteristic by 1, train a skill over 15 by 1 point, or add up to 6 points to increase skills up to 15. Those are your options, but you're going to get to do one of those things. So you're going to have some ability to improve your character every year. Tally glory. Add up all the glory gained in this year's play. Find the total and write it under history and events, and then add it to the current total glory. So, history and events, important event, date, glory, right? So you're going to write this year's stuff down. Let me really quickly see if I can't find the glory in here. There's a glory word. Just trying to find the actual glory. Oh, glory award for each picked warrior is 25. That's cool. Everyone collects glory, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more digging on exactly how the glory awards. I know you get glory awards for each thing you complete, but I'm not seeing any specific glory awards for the events that unfold here. There we go. There it is. Award 50 glory for each picked, slain, or disabled during the attack on St. Paul's. Oh, 50, not 25. Amazing. Okay. If they save the sword, give 250 glory as a group award divided amongst those who fought. Award 100 glory to every player knight for witnessing Arthur's coronation, and another for witnessing his coronation in Caerleon. Each player knight collects 30 glory for their participation in the battle. Each foe defeated in an encounter earns glory as depicted on the respective card. Award 100 glory to each player knight who becomes a household knight of King Arthur. Award 1,000 glory to each character who is knighted, plus 250 glory for being knighted by King Arthur himself. Those things may or may not happen. That's where things start to diverge. It's less about what happens to you. What happens to you is kind of set in stone in these adventures. These events are going to occur. It's a narrative. That's fine. It's fun. It's very different from other types of games, but the reward, the glory, the story, the legacy that you build changes as a result of how you interact with that story. How much glory do you earn? Do you get to become, do you get to be knighted by King Arthur? Those things matter, and those things change the story. They change your characters, and then you're going to change how you play your characters accordingly. And it may change how things happen down the road. Nebulous New Year's resolution, right? One moment, please. Well, I just lost my bottle cap, so hopefully I don't spill it. All right. So, and it's kind of record keeping is up to you. You can enumerate all of these things. Coronation of Arthur, glory, blah blah blah. Or you can just literally put the name of the adventure, the year, and the glory that you earned, which is generally how I would do it on your character sheet, and that would go here under important event history and events. And it depends, like, because these are like one shots, I would just enumerate, like summarize it and call it a day. On some of our long running campaigns, some of the players would end up with very, very detailed histories, because that's half the fun is building the story, building the legacy of your characters and your family. And finally, step 4. So here's again the steps: experience rules, training and practice, tally your glory, and then your prestige reward. At every full 1,000 points of glory attained, the player knight receives a prestige award. Note the reward on your character sheet. Total glory, passive glory, session glory. Just like for taking notes. So we'd probably write a prestige award in here. Anyway. The prestige rewards may be used as follows: to raise any statistic by 1 point. No restrictions apply to the increase. No penalties pertain, and it may increase the critical bonus for skills over 20. Be sure to refigure derived characteristics if a characteristic increases. So this is the only way you can increase your size once your character has been created. And it can use increased size or any of the other characteristics. It could also lower the value of a passion by 1 point. If you desire to do so. With that, another year in the life of the player knights is complete, and that is the winter phase. It's basically leveling up, calculating glory, and then we move on to the next adventure in the next year. That's how it works. With that said, if anybody has any questions about the system or the campaign, I'm happy to try to answer those. Otherwise, I'm going to do just a little bit more work on this adventure. Picking up where we left off, so this is onto the winter phase. Save that. Let's go ahead and go up to next section. The king defends his crown. That is 5. Okay. Go ahead and copy this note. There we go. Great events. Okay. Another side part. Witnessing great events. At times throughout this or any Pendragon campaign, the player knights may bear witness to a great event. Sometimes they may have an opportunity to involve themselves, but other times, such as Arthur's coronation, here they are merely witnesses. These events often carry a glory award simply for being there. Although we depict these scenes with a wealth of detail, not every group is interested in hearing their game master narrate a scene at length. Others quite enjoy the feeling of being there for famous moments or simply relish a good tale. If you're unsure, go ahead and try it, or simply ask the group what they think. But if you are positive your players will get bored, feel free to summarize the events as described in whatever manner works best for your group and their attention spans. Fair enough. Save this and continue working on it here. Of the Bishop of Londinium. This is the whole ceremony. You get to hear about that when you watch our game stream, because I'll get to read it there. Full religion Christian. A fumble or failure, everything seems fine. Success, the rights were not quite correct somehow. Well, critical success recognizes Archbishop Dupercus of Britain ought to have overseen the rights, not the Bishop of Londinium. Dun 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 dun. Recognize role. Court, then this up near Candlemas. So we're going to save this. We're going to make a little interesting note. This happens at where? Doesn't say where. At the cathedral. Which cathedral? St. Paul's Cathedral, presumably. That's the only one. So it's going to be at St. Paul's Cathedral. We're going to create a new character. The Bishop of Londinium. Don't know anything about him yet, but we're going to tie him to that location. And to King defends his crown. As the bishop is the one who does the coronation. And happens at St. Paul's Cathedral. Making indulgence. Especially difficult to avoid. Good one is serve, decision roll, opportunity to make a decision roll of temperate indulgent. -5/+5 modifier for those who wish. A fumbled, temperate, or critical indulgent result means the knight gets drunk and overeats to excess. Player knights who are famously indulgent must stuff themselves or else fail indulgent and succeed at temperate with the same modifiers to resist. If a knight is famously temperate and gives to their indulgent trait, they lose a point of honor as well. All right, that's saved. Now let's go ahead and create the journey to Carleon. An announcement reaches the player knights that the king will travel in full procession to the city of Carleon, where the Archbishop of Britain resides. Player knights ride with their lords. Travel in large groups is always excruciating slow going due to lumbering wagons and their draft animals, inadequate roads, delays at towns and castles, and a myriad of other factors. The journey takes a fortnight. So we're going to put this in here. This is the journey to Carleon from Londinium. We're going to add them here in just a second. Save this. What did I do? Oh. Apparently failed to do that. Here's Carleon. Perfect, there's all that. We're going to go ahead and create the image. I have them already in here in the Pendragon folder. Map to Carleon, insert. Go to view mode, and there's the map there. Shows up with everything else. And each army frightens Arthur, orders the city closed and prefers to siege. Yep. 6 northern lords arrive. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to do the Battle of Carleon, which is step 7. This is the first battle not just for the boy king, but for the young player knights as well. On the gate. Player knights. We're gonna do battle rolls. Loyalty king. Or honor. Passions. Mark those. Battle of Carlisle has begun. Player knights may invoke their honor here because this is to be their first opportunity to prove themselves worthy of knighthood and before the eyes of so many great lords, no less. So then there's a lot of battle procedure stuff in here. So procedure battle cards, specific events. If the player knights are on the field during a turn indicated below and the intensity roll succeeds, they become involved in the corresponding scripted event as noted. In other role-playing games, allowing the enemy to capture one's character may be considered a fate worse than death. For knights in the world of Pendragon, it's merely an occupational hazard. Before joining the battle, take a moment to discuss ransom and capture with your players. Remind them that enemy knights are worth much more alive than dead, that they do not need to pursue all fights to the utmost. Remind them, too, that their own knights are more likely to enjoy leniency if they surrender to honorable, noble opponents, and that capture is not the end of the world. As Game Master, if one or more of the player knights endures capture, assume the captor takes them north with Lot's army after the battle, and that their lord or King Arthur pays the ransom over the course of the winter phase. Describe how the captor, a lower-ranking Lothian noble, courteously treats the player knight as a guest, lets the court surgeon tend their wounds, and keeps them fed and comfortable. Emphasize the bond of knighthood transcending mere political squabbles. Perhaps use the opportunity to introduce a new amour or friendly rival. In Pendragon, what can seem like a reversal or story obstacle oftentimes ends up providing long-lasting and memorable twists to the character's ending narrative or evolving narrative. So, you know what I forgot to do? Let's go to a couple of these. 4, 6, and another tag. So we're going to tag this one with main plot. Main plot. I kept forgetting to do that. Main plot. Main plot. Cool. Those are all tagged now. I want to add getting captured as a tag because, again, that's a thing that can happen. It's kind of a game rule, kind of not, but I'm going to list it here anyway. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm not going to call it a game. It's not a rule per se. It's just a reminder about how to play the game. I guess I could do it either way, but save that. Go back to the event. Battle of Corleone. 7. Main plot and getting captured as a reminder. Okay, battle procedure. Consult the battle rules found in Appendix B battle. Okay, hold that thought. I think the printed version has the appendices. Appendix A tournament. Appendix B battle. Super useful when it's in paper. All right. How to run a battle, player knights, Hanhua, morale. Battles comprise a number of battle turns, and they each have a procedure, which is set the encounter, which is the default encounter. The game master rolls unopposed against the battle's intensity value. If the roll succeeds, the chosen encounter is set. If the roll fails, the player knights have an opportunity to set a different encounter. A fumble generates an opportunity of the game master's choosing. The battle roll, players who wish to make this change, roll battle. They can select encounter, reduce morale. Morale decreases by the amount indicated for the encounter or opportunity. The player knights will choose their posture. Choosing posture. After selecting an encounter, player knights choose their posture for the battle turn. Posture dictates the number of combat rounds they must fight this turn, and may even limit their choice of combat actions. They can choose valorous, reckless, prudent, and cowardly. And that'll determine some of the rules, how long they fight, etc. Then you fight the encounter. Player knights may make a squire skill roll to replace lost weapons or horses, escort a prisoner from the field, or remove an unconscious player knight. So their squire can help them out by doing some of those things if they roll well enough. The actual rolls in combat, I'll proceed through encounter like normal melee combat. Each player knight faces off against one or more opponents. There's special rules for encountering missile weapons. Fight combat routes. Those who chose valorous as their posture fight for 2 rounds, while those who chose reckless fight for 3 rounds. If your character defeats their opponent before the minimum number of combat rounds dictated by their posture, they must fight a fresh opponent. Each encounter lists the number of available opponents. If all available opponents are engaged, the player knights may gang up on one, forcing them to take the multiple opponents penalty. The battle turn automatically ends for the Kanhua if all available opponents are defeated, captured, killed, and or rendered unable to fight due to major wounds or unconsciousness. If there are still opponents engaged with the player knight, that character may fight 1 more round by first succeeding at both an energetic and valorous roll. Opportunities often override the above sequence. Okay, so here's the procedure for this battle. There are 8 battle turns, meaning the player knights could conceivably have up to 8 encounters or opportunities. In reality, the Kanhua will find itself needing to retire to the rear at least once during the battle in order to build up its morale score again and allow injured knights to receive healing and rest. All right, the morale. Where's the morale check in here? I'm not seeing it. There it is. There it is. After the default encounter is set, the Game Master makes an unopposed roll to the intensity. If the result is success, the encounter is set. A critical success doubles the number of foes in the encounter, while a fumble instead generates an opportunity of the Game Master's choice. If the intensity roll fails, each player knight may make a battle skill roll representing their eye for the battle and tactical opportunities. A successful battle roll allows the player to guide the course of the battle by choosing a potential encounter from those presented at the start of the battle in opposition to the one chosen by the Game Master. So the following encounters and opportunities in the battle cards included with the set. So that's the encounters and opportunities basically right there, which makes sense. The Game Master should provide a description of the encounter opportunity, but not give away any mechanical details if possible. Instead, they may adjust their language accordingly, characterizing an encounter with high morale as cost as grim-faced warriors ready to sell their lives dearly or similar. A critical success allows players to choose an opportunity instead. Okay. There is always a minimum morale value to engage an encounter. If the Kanhua does not have enough points of its morale remaining to activate the encounter, they must instead disengage and retreat. This means that the Kanawa could not summon the energy or the fervor needed to engage this enemy and must retire to refresh themselves and build up their passion back up before they take to the field again. After making the encounter opportunity choice, the Game Master rolls morale loss as indicated for the encounter and deducts the result from the Kanawa's current morale value, representing the toll this battle turn takes on the knight simply from combat fatigue, flagging, clan, and jangled nerves. All right. There's battlefield positions here. Engaged or on the field, the knight or Kanawa are actively choosing encounters. Retired to the rear, the action that moves them off the field, out of battle. The knight is behind the lines if you're out of battle, getting first aid and recovering their wind. Then left on the field, the knight or Kanawa is no longer part of the battle. It continues on without them because you left the field entirely. Here's retiring. At certain points in battle, the Kanawa commander may opt, or circumstances can force them to retire to the rear of the battle to rest and recoup. The Kanawa must immediately retire to the rear as soon as the morale value hits 0, or if the Kanawa's morale value is too low to engage the chosen encounter. You do not fight any combat nor gain any glory. Otherwise, the decision to retire always rests with the Kanawa commander, which may call for a check to prudent or cowardly at the Game Master's discretion. The decision to retire may be made at any time during the battle turn. If the call to retire occurs in the midst of combat, every engaged player knight must attempt an invade action, or else they must finish their current fight before following their unit. Retiring to the rear takes the Kanawa out of the battle for at least one whole battle turn and immediately restores 1d6 points to the Kanawa's morale. Player knights may also let skilled surgeons, amours, or spouses or other attendants tend their wounds. It is assumed that a different person treats each player knight's wounds. Roll a random first aid skill value of 14 plus 1d6 for each knight treated. The characters may, of course, decide to treat each other's wounds instead or have their squires attend to the treatment. The Kanawa commander may opt to remain disengaged for as many battle turns as they like, regaining 1d6 points of morale per turn until morale reaches its starting value, at which point they must return to the fight on the following battle turn, or else declare the entire Kanawa has left the field entirely. A few circumstances may render player knights alone on the field. If they voluntarily leave their unit, suffer from passion-induced madness, or are unhorsed. That would suck. Anyway, just a few of the things. We'll get into this, of course, when we run the campaign live for your entertainment. That is going to happen at the end of the month on Friday the 28th. We're going to be kicking things off around 1 p.m. Eastern time on the 28th, where we're going to be playing through the adventure. Obviously, I'm going to have to introduce the system to all the players. We'll get into playing. Just given how long it's going to take to read through some of this stuff, we may only get through this first part of the adventure, and if so, that's totally fine. If we get through more, awesome. I'm going to do my best to have everything ready by then. Obviously, we've gotten through most of a big chunk of the stream prep. Of the 9 events, I have all but one of them actually moved into Lorelink, so I should be able to get through at least the prep for this first adventure in the starting campaign in the box set. Again, this is Pendragon 6th edition. Really looking forward to running this, and hopefully everybody else will enjoy it as well. We're going to have a good group of 5 players, it looks like, on that Friday the 28th, so it's going to be a really great stream. Don't forget to join us next Tuesday. You're going to get a stream here. It's not going to be another Pendragon stream. We have something else in mind for you, and I am currently looking up what that is because I am behind the times. It is going to be 20, actually. 20 is here. Awesome. Fantastic. 20 is here moderating right now, and she's going to be on next Tuesday. So that'll be super exciting. Definitely tune in for that. And then the following week, Tuesday the 25th, Mark will be back, and he's got some stream stuff going on. And then, of course, Friday the 28th, I'll be running this adventure. So really looking forward to it. If you're interested in trying out LoreLink, do check out lorelink.com. Of course, you can find us at HoosierCon, Origins, and we'll be around at Gen Con this year. So do look us up at those events. You can follow or subscribe to our newsletter on the website and follow us on Blue Sky as well to keep tabs on everything that's going on. And if nothing else, we'll see you here next week. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening, and have a great evening.